Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about the self-employed tax credit. So I'm going through TikTok the other day and I saw a video talking about the self-employed tax credit, claiming that almost every gig worker qualifies, which is cool, and I have not really heard of it or know too much about it before that TikTok. And when he claimed how much you can get in tax credit, I was pretty hyped, I'm not gonna lie, but of course there's gotta be a catch to it, right?
Do your own research before you guys start talking smack.
Well, don't mind if I do. So with that said, we are talking about everything you must know about the self-employed tax credit. What he is saying, what I have found versus how it actually is, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain, is never intended to be, legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. Also, thank you to GigTax for verifying this information and making this video possible. What is the SATC? The self-employed tax credit is an often overlooked opportunity. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, or FFCRA, introduced a specialized tax credit designed to provide support to self-employed individuals affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. While the SATC is not new by any means, countless Americans remained uninformed of its existence, potentially missing out on their rightful claims. How much can you claim? The SATC is calculated based on the number of days the taxpayer could not work due to COVID-19 or a similar condition. The tax credit is equal to the lesser of $511 per day for up to 10 days for the taxpayer's own care and $200 per day for up to 10 days to care for a family member or a child whose school or place of care is closed due to COVID-19. The maximum credit amount for a taxpayer's own care is $5,110, and for caring for a family member or child, it's $2,000. Eligible individuals can claim up to a total of $32,220 in tax credits for the combined years 2020 and 2021. The SATC is also a refundable tax credit, which means if the credit exceeds the taxpayer's overall tax liability, the taxpayer will receive the excess as a refund. However, the credit cannot exceed the taxpayer's net income from self-employment. So if you made $1,000 normally during a period in which you're sick with COVID, you cannot receive a $5,000 tax credit. So don't be that guy who invites an audit into your home with that. Who qualifies for the SATC? To be eligible for the SATC, the taxpayer must be a self-employed individual who meets the following criteria. The taxpayer must have earned net earnings from self-employment income during the tax year. The taxpayer must have been subject to the self-employment tax during the tax year. And the taxpayer must have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or caring for someone who has been diagnosed with COVID-19, whether it's a family member, kid, or otherwise. However, this also means that sub-S, true S-Corps, and C-Corps remain exempt from this provision. What constitutes as COVID impact? I always found terms like this to be amusing because it's such a heavy and such a defining connotation to such a seemingly complex process, but it is so open to interpretation if it's not specifically defined. Anyone who has experienced COVID-related disruptions to their business or their ability to work could qualify for this tax credit. This includes illnesses, symptoms, quarantine, testing, caregiving responsibilities, being forced to stay home due to a closure of your child's school or daycare.
Well, duh, Joe. Isn't that obvious enough? I mean, come on.
Is it though? I could claim I wasn't feeling good this morning, but that doesn't make me eligible, which is why it is so important to have the proper documentation on the subject, but more on that later. How can I claim my SATC? To be eligible for the SATC, the individual must be a self-employed worker with a net income from self-employment. The net income must meet a minimum threshold, which may vary based on the filing status you have and the current tax laws. Examples of this would be sole proprietors who run businesses with employees employees, 1099 subcontractors, single-member LLCs, all qualify in most cases. Sub S, True S, and C Corps, again, they are exempt from this provision. Also, the individual must be a U.S. resident for tax purposes. Documents and requirements. The individual must have documentation to support their claim to the SATC. This includes accurate records of their self-employment income and expenses and any unpaid medical bills. The individual must also have qualifying days when they could not work due to COVID-19 related reasons. Whether that was a time where you turned off the app for a few weeks to make sure that you can actually recover and you have a corresponding email that goes with it, or pay statements that make it obvious enough that you weren't working because you were ill, etc. But keep in mind, accuracy is key. Ensure all your income and expenses reports are detailed and up to date. Utilizing accounting software can absolutely streamline this process and reduce the likelihood of errors that can lead to IRS scrutiny. To claim the SATC, the individual must file their taxes using Form 1040 and Schedule C, which is used to report self-employment income and expenses. They must also file a Schedule SE, which is used to calculate self-employment tax. If the individual did not claim the SATC on their original tax return, they can file an amended return using Form 1040X. Claiming your credit. To claim the SATC, the individual must complete the IRS Form 7202, which calculates the credit amount. The credit is refundable, meaning that if it is more than the individual's tax liability, they will receive a cash refund. It is important to note that claiming the SATC can be a complicated process, and it may be beneficial to seek the assistance of a tax professional, such as a CPA, to ensure that all documentation and requirements are met, and the right one at that. I know that there are a lot of people out here scamming and putting on misinformation on TikTok and what have you, so that way they can build their clientele, and those people are charging thousands. Imagine that, putting all that money together, doing all the work to get the tax credit, only to get an audit and lose even more. That makes no sense. But anyway, to amend returns from 2020, the deadline is April 15th, 2024, and in April 15th, 2025, that would be the deadline to amend the 2021 tax returns. And one of the best things you could do is get help from an honest CPA that's not going to overcharge you for having a certain number of 1099s or making sure that you're eligible to even receive the SATC in the first place and that you have the proper documentation on the subject. And of course, GigTax is here to help. Tax season is inevitable, and for every hour spent navigating tax season alone, you miss out on potential earnings, precious moments with loved ones, and expose yourself to financial risks. Recognized as the leading tax preparation service for gig workers, GigTax is dedicated to simplifying the process, saving you time, energy, and money. Founded by Joseph Mayo, a seasoned gig worker with 6,000 deliveries across 6 platforms since 2020, GigTax addresses the overlooked, overcharged, and underserved needs of gig workers in the financial realm. Driven Wyld subscribers can take advantage of an exclusive 60% discount on GigTax's tax prep, and if you act now, the first 3 registrations include complimentary tax preparation. Hold on, let me say that again, just in case I wasn't clear about it. Professional tax prep tailored to your needs. Absolutely free! Secure your spot today with GigTax using the link in the description to register and enter Wyld to maximize your savings and get back to what you do best, making the most amount of money in the least amount of time in the safest possible way. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.